Conversations. Today's interview is with Jacintha Bell, who is the Principal OT at LifeWorks OT. Hello, Jacintha. How are you today?
Hi, Megan. I'm really well, thanks. And you?
Very good, thank you.
That's
We've
good.
just been talking, Jacintha and I, about we're right in the thick of responding to COVID-19, and we're kind of licking our wounds a little bit, and then what do we all do next? But we're putting on our happy faces and going to do this conversation. So thank you, Jacintha. I really appreciate that.
That's okay. We're all trying to be very brave at the moment, aren't we?
Exactly,
Yeah.
brave and courage. So let's start off this conversation, which is not going to be about COVID-19 as a breath of fresh air. We're going to talk about you and your business and your practice and some of your approaches. So start us off by telling me and the listeners a bit about your background.
Sure thing. So I've been an OT or occupational therapist, for anybody who wasn't sure what that meant, for about 20 years now. And most of the time I was working in public mental health, so in psychiatric hospitals and in community mental health teams, which is my real passion. I love working in mental health. And then about 5 years ago, I made the switch from working in the public system to opening my own private practice, which gave me the opportunity to be able to work with people in the way I felt was most effective and use the therapy approaches that I wanted to be able to use with people. And so now we do mental health, and additional to that, we also work with people who have got chronic pain and also any other chronic health conditions. Some of the maybe considered more unusual conditions, things like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or functional neurological disorders or chronic fatigue syndrome. Some of those conditions where the treatment approach is really about managing rather than curing the condition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell us, when you said the one of the reasons for starting your own practice was to deliver the services in the way you thought was most effective. Can you just talk a little bit more to that? What's your philosophy around the effectiveness of helping your patient base?
Yeah, sure. Look, obviously, early interventions really, I feel, is very important, and also using preventative measures rather than for want of a better word, putting out fires, dealing with crises. And unfortunately, at that time anyway, in the public mental health system, that's what was happening, is that services had changed to become very much risk management and crisis intervention. And there was very little, there was a huge gap in service delivery for our people with severe and persistent mental health conditions, in terms of community supports and therapies that allowed them to actually stay well in the community and prevent that revolving door cycle of inpatient admissions and then coming home but not having the supports required to stay well at home.
Thank you. And so for someone listening who is new to understanding what an OT does, it's a very, very broad discipline. Would you mind just explaining the role of what an OT would do and how you would help someone with mental health from the OT perspective, as opposed to maybe a psychological or a psychiatric perspective?
Yeah, sure. Always one of the more challenging tasks. So lots of people find it difficult to understand our role. But to put it in simple terms, occupational therapists, our science is occupation, and to us, occupation is anything you do that occupies your time. So that could be sleeping, it could be gardening, it could be going to work, could be driving, it could be school or study, it could be caring for your children, it could be having a shower or brushing your teeth. I mean, there's just anything you can think of that occupies your time, playing sport, anything. So for us, our philosophy is that we believe it's very important for people to be able to participate in the occupations, or you might say activities, that are meaningful to them. So that's our primary goal, is to help people to participate in those things. And so usually that's done by overcoming barriers. So for lots of people that we see with mental health conditions or chronic pain or chronic health conditions, those conditions create barriers to people being able to complete those activities. So, if somebody has, let's say, a very common issue with a lot of those conditions is fatigue. So fatigue is a barrier to being able to do the things you want to do. So we approach that in two different ways. One is first to try and teach the person skills and strategies, so different ways of maybe going about things in order to do the things that they want to do and need to do in their lives. And the other way might be to change the environment in some way for them in order to make it easier for them to be able to complete those tasks. So that might be it might be bringing in some aids or equipment, or even changing the social or cultural environment around them. So that's a very broad answer.
Yes. No, thank you for sharing that. That really helps.
That answers, the question.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. Mm.
And so then thinking about you as a business owner as well as a very experienced clinician, tell us, over the 5 years since you started up LifeWorks OT, what are some of the things you've learned as a practice owner?
Okay, well, definitely the first thing I learned is that you don't learn anything about being a practice owner at university. So having a degree, a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Therapy, did not really prepare me for working in running a private practice. Mm-hmm. And I obviously just started on my own by myself. So I did learn a lot as I went. And then I started employing people and taking on contractors. And then I thought, I really need to actually learn more about running a business so that I can make sure I'm doing all the right things by my staff and my contractors and my clients. And so that my business is going to be sustainable in going into the future, because then I had people relying on me to be continuing to provide them with employment or an income, and also services. So I had to invest a lot in my own learning, and not my clinical knowledge. That part I was fairly confident with, but much more my business knowledge. And it was probably only 2 to 3 years into running a practice that I really made the conscious decision to really focus on that. And probably the biggest challenge in moving from working in a public health system to a private system was recognising and understanding my worth as a therapist.
Yes.
And being able to have discussions with clients around money.
Yes.
That was so uncomfortable at first, because, I'd never charged for my services before. Of course, I'd been paid, but I'd never charged clients directly for my services. So when I started bulk billing, and that was much more comfortable because I wasn't having to talk to people about money. But I realised very quickly that was completely unsustainable. And I no longer bulk bill, but it took me probably 3 to 4 years to really be able to understand and be confident with that. And I've had to support a lot of the clinicians that work with me in doing that as well. So that's probably my biggest thing that I've learned.
Yeah, I come across that often when I'm talking to OTs in particular, but, across the Allied Health Board, and, OTs in particular, you're in this profession because you're coming purely from a place of service, and the money feels almost incongruent with that.
Absolutely.
But yes, it's a case of, well, we need wonderful people like you to sustain the practice, and it has to be in a way that's fair for everybody. And
yes,
healthcare is not purely free in Australia. So
no, it's definitely not. However, there are public options for people who cannot afford private services, and that is very important that continues as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if you were starting your practice tomorrow, is there anything you would do differently than what you've done, say, over the last 5 years?
Yes, I definitely would have invested in more learning at the beginning.
Okay.
I probably would have attended some courses about starting a practice so that I could put more planning into the initial phases, because it's very hard to undo things once you've already set up in a certain way. And that's all sorts of things, like, your practice management software that you might use. I think we've changed 3 times now. Sometimes you don't know until you try things, but right. And every time the change is a challenge. Accountants and accounting systems, we've changed multiple times. Moving from a sole provider to a company, that has been a significant change. That maybe if I had thought about how I wanted to end up at the beginning, I might have set some things up in the way I planned to, finish, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to know where it's going to go. And, typically when you start up, I know someone said to me when I started my business 13 years ago, have 12 months of income saved before you start. And of course, I did not do that, and I did not have a plan. And I went through that many iterations going, well, I'm just throwing pasta at the wall and seeing which bits stick and then running with those bits.
Absolutely.
The hypocrisy is not lost on me that I turn around and tell people, now, where's your plan?
Yes, exactly. Well, it's a good thing that you do, because it's so important. Look, in hindsight now, I see how important and helpful it would have been to have that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, never mind. We know now we can teach others.
We do.
And tell us about your approach to patient care. What's your philosophy, and what are the non-negotiables, I suppose, for the culture of your team and the delivery of your services? What do you maintain?
Sure. So for us, what's really important is that we provide a quality service. So we don't. We do charge a good, a premium price, I suppose you could say, but for that we deliver, an excellent high quality service, so that we know that people will achieve outcomes, and that they, will go away feeling really happy and satisfied with the services that we provide them. So that's very, very important. It is number one. We also think, or our culture is that every person is unique, and so our services are very individualised. We do not have a cookie cutter approach to any type of therapy. Each person gets a unique therapy plan that's based on their individual circumstances, their own challenges, their own strengths, and their barriers and their needs. And that's very important to us, that there's no production line. Every person is treated very, 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 very much as a new, a new opportunity. We also, I guess, in terms of our actual philosophies or values that we have in our team, respect is very important. Being professional, and I would say the biggest thing in the work that we do is listening, actually listening to people, because most of the clients we see have been through many healthcare practitioners. They've seen lots of people, and they have often experienced a lot of invalidation and felt devalued. So the first thing we can do in terms of respecting our clients is to listen to them and try very hard to understand their story, where they're coming from, their experiences, and make sure that they know that, we believe, all of the things that they're telling us,
yes.
And that we're there to work with them as a team, not to be dictating to them or working, or just telling them what to do. It's very much a team-based approach, and they're the integral member of that team. So yes. That's very, very important to us.
Yeah. You've really struck that beautiful balance, I think, is what comes across from you to me, that you've got the balance of, yes, we're a premium service and we deliver and we've got quality. At the same time, we're here to serve, and yes. coming from that place of service and patient care, which is so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you love most about what you do?
Oh, so many things.
I can tell.
But look, I guess for a lot of people, or a lot of other therapists, that might work in different areas, especially if they work in acute services, they're used to seeing people will recover quite quickly. They see a fast change. But in our work, what we all love is that, is seeing people achieve small things. So for us, we celebrate, the small wins, the baby steps, because we know that for us, or for, the regular population, that might seem like something small. But for our clients, that's massive. It's a massive thing. So we celebrate every achievement, every light bulb moment, every level of, change in level of understanding, being able to do one thing in their day that is new or is really exciting or meaningful to them. So that's the part I love, is seeing people gain confidence in their abilities to manage whatever their condition is, and build a life that they are really happy and content with. So that's that for me. That's it. And I love helping clients do that. I also love helping clinicians to help their clients do that.
Yes.
So I love to see everybody, I guess, growing and being really really happy and satisfied with small gains.
Yes. Oh, well, you're doing exactly what you were meant to be doing, Jacinta.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And holding on to that is so important while we sort of navigate, 6 or potentially 12 months of a little, some upheaval in our communities. Is really important to keep reminding ourselves of why we do the work that we do, and
absolutely
stay the course.
Yeah.
And for people listening who want to get in touch with you, who are in WA, but you can deliver telehealth services as well, can't you?
We can, yes. We deliver services face-to-face. We do home visits for people in the Perth metropolitan region, and then we also provide telehealth services, and that is for anyone in Western Australia, but also interstate. And it's actually a very practical method of service delivery, as lots of people will be finding in the next few months. But we've been doing it for quite some time, and we found it. I've seen there are people that I've never seen face to face, and we've got this amazing therapeutic relationship, and they've managed to achieve wonderful, wonderful things in the time that we've been working together online, which is fantastic. So we have a website, www.lifeworksot.com.au. We also have you can also find us on Facebook, and otherwise we have a phone number or email that people can get in contact with us. All those details are on our website. People can also book appointments online, so that makes the whole process very simple and
easy. Lovely. You've got it all covered. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, and also for the opportunity to work with you as well. Pleasure. And lovely to hear your insights and your passion coming through for the work that you do. So thanks, Jacinta. Have a great day.
Thanks, Megan, and thank you for all your assistance as well. It's been very useful.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's what we like to hear. Helping each other, help others.
Exactly.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Megan. Bye. Bye.